guys, welcome back to another video. The decision we have all been waiting for has arrived in the FTC versus Microsoft case for the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and the FTC has lost, Microsoft has won, and it looks like Activision Blizzard is going to be acquired by Xbox, as they now can go ahead and close the deal before the July 18th headline. This was such a huge decision because the reason they had gone to court to try to get this preliminary injunction was to force Microsoft's hand to renegotiate the deal if the PI was granted, or to walk away and pay the $3 billion to Activision. All of that is out the window now, as Microsoft is going to be able to close this thing. We'll go over here to FOSS Patents here and look at some of the statements in the actual documents that were released. First of all, it says, this screenshot is from the first page. It contains the sentence that says she denies the FTC and has not been able to show a likelihood of success on any one of the theories of harms. And if you were out there listening to this case, I was listening to the case, I was going through some of the stuff after, and it was the fact that the FTC really didn't have any singular good arguments to prove that there was going to be a theory of harm in any of the pillars, from the cloud to the console and even to the 10-year agreements for the cloud, which was something you could have argued that they didn't have all the details of it, but nobody presented those details. They didn't sit down with Microsoft to discuss what they wanted in the 10-year deals to satisfy the FTC and satisfy any remedies. So all of that stuff was not going to be able to be used as theories of harm. Here's specifically the filing. Here's what the judge says. 4 weeks ago, the FTC filed this action to preliminary enjoin the merger pending completion of the FTC administrative action. Because the merger has a July 18th termination date, expedited proceedings were commenced. After considering the parties' voluminous pre- and post-hearing writing submissions and having held a 5-day evidentiary hearing, the court denies the motion for preliminary injunction. The FTC has not shown it is likely to succeed on its assertion the combined firm will probably pull Call of Duty from Sony PlayStation, or that its ownership of Activision content will substantially lessen competition in the video game library subscription and cloud gaming markets. This is huge because, as we know, the cloud was the major thing that the CMA used to block the deal. The EU didn't see a theory of harm with the remedies. Now, the FTC seemingly is going to have to not be able to use that, as the judge is saying that they don't see any theory of harm in cloud gaming or in subscription. So this is a big thing to help the overall case, I would say, especially in the appeals process with going forward with against the CMA and against the CAT, right? So this is a big decision, and the whole thing about pulling Call of Duty has been hilarious right from the beginning. As it's been stated multiple times, there's been promises, there's been deals that they weren't going to be taking it off of the PlayStation platform. They were going to continuously provide the exact same game parity across the board on the PlayStation platform. So that isn't surprising that the FTC, that the judge saw no harm in that theory going forward. Now it says here's the document, 53 pages, public redacted version. So contrary to what she said at the hearing, she made a public version available immediately, which is great. And you can see everything. There's 53 pages. I'm not going to read through it all because the most important thing here is the decision at the end. Now, we do know that the FTC can appeal this decision. However, they usually have 5 days, but Judge Corley actually made that less. She made a less amount of days for the cooldown period to go ahead and appeal it. As it says, the TRO does not go into next week. It expires by the end of day Friday unless the appeals court blocks the deal. It says Judge Corley exercised her discretion to modify. So she says that the court modifies its temporary restraining order such that the temporary restraining order will dissolve by 11:59 p.m. on July 14th, 2023, unless the FTC obtains a stay pending appeal from the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. So they don't even have those full 5 days to put in their appeal. It's going to be by the end of July 14th, where this entire temporary restraining order is going to be dissolved. So I guess we still kind of have to wait to see if the appeals court will block the deal, but it seemingly isn't going to happen based off of everything that we have heard. And one of the other things that was interesting was the whole Nintendo Switch discussion as to whether it should be included in the console game market, in the high-end console gaming market. And here is what the document says. It says, if the court was the final decision maker on the merits, it would likely find Nintendo Switch part of the relevant market. Finally, some logical sense making here. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch is absolutely a part of the relevant market against the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S in the current generation of consoles, with everything, how these consoles compete, how well the Switch is still doing, how games that are third party are still releasing on the Nintendo Switch, that release also on the PS5 and on the Xbox. So it just didn't make any sense, all of those arguments that the Switch wasn't a part of this current generation because it was underpowered. And they see here that the decision makers and will find that it is a part of the market. Now, he goes on here and says she does not, however, include gaming PCs in the console market definition. She did appear somewhat receptive to that idea at the hearing, but apparently the FTC has convinced her that legally she can't include PCs in the definition because it's a different kind of product. And honestly, that one's far different than the Nintendo Switch. I mean, the PC market, although it plays a lot of these similar games, it isn't in the exact same consumer market in terms of how much you're actually having to pay to play games at the same level as on the consoles itself. All of the other things that PCs can be used for, it isn't just a box to play video games. So I can kind of see that not being included, but in terms of gaming itself, it is still similar because you are playing the same games on your consoles as you are playing on your PC. And it says here, the order is dated for July 10th, but the public redacted version came out today. So it's possible, but far from certain, that the FTC and Microsoft and Activision got it late yesterday and were told that the public redacted version was coming this morning by California time. Now, Lulu Chang also commented on this right away, and we'll go down here to her comments. She says, the legal system worked. A fair and neutral court has reached the correct conclusion about Activision Blizzard's merger with Microsoft based on facts and law, and the judge's ruling rejects the FTC's ideologically driven attempt to prevent a deal that benefits gamers and allows more competition instead of protecting the market leader. And like, that's the thing. The FTC obviously is out there to try to stop these big deals against big tech in order to show that they do have the power to do that and probably deter big companies like Microsoft from trying to make these massive acquisitions going forward into the future. And they failed. This is the second time they failed, because they also failed with Meta, which permitted Meta to acquire Within. And the FTC didn't even appeal that, they just abandoned it. So people are thinking they're going to be doing the same with the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. And now we have Phil Spencer. And Phil Spencer says this: we're grateful to the court for swiftly deciding in our favor. The evidence showed that the Activision Blizzard deal is good for the industry, and the FTC's claims about the console switching, multi-game subscription services, and cloud don't reflect the realities of the gaming market. Since we first announced this deal, our commitment to bringing more games to more people on more devices has only grown. We've signed multiple agreements to make Activision Blizzard games, Xbox first-party games, and Game Pass all available to more players than they are today, which absolutely is going to happen once this whole thing closes. These games are going to be available on places they weren't available before, like all of the streaming platforms they made those deals with and the Nintendo Switch. And then he continues here and says, we know that players around the world have been watching this case closely, and I'm proud of our efforts to expand player access and choice throughout this journey's end. Signifying here, in my opinion, that they're ready to get this thing closed, finished, games coming to Game Pass, games coming to the Xbox Cloud Gaming, the games being first-party Xbox games, the studios being first-party Xbox game studios. So we're finally really, really close to that end game where we don't even need to ever talk about this anymore, other than what games are coming out on Xbox, what games are coming out on Xbox Game Pass, which is exciting. Even for me, I've been covering this and you guys have been enjoying it, but I am going to be super excited when we don't have to talk about the judges and the law and the court and all that stuff when it comes to gaming. Finally, we have Brad Smith here, who always weighs in on this stuff as well. He's the vice chair and president of Microsoft, and he says, we're grateful to the court in San Francisco for the quick and thorough decision and hope our jurisdictions will continue working towards a timely resolution. As we've demonstrated consistently throughout this process, we are committed to working creatively and collaboratively to address the regulatory concerns. So there it is. There's the decision. And now things are going to get even more exciting going forward as we see how Xbox handles all of these games once this deal closes. How are they going to release them? When are they coming to Game Pass? And just the amount of content that is going to be coming into the service itself is going to be absolutely insane for the amount we pay, even with the $1 price raise in Game Pass Ultimate, with all of the Activision Blizzard stuff, things are going to be nonstop from a first-party perspective jumping into Xbox Game Pass. But I'll leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new, or hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.